Hi, everyone. Welcome to the shack.
That was a much more gentle start. We like that.
Trina said calmly.
Yeah.
Not, not,
Not screaming at our listeners
not
this time.
screaming. No jump scares in it. Well, hopefully not. But no, just a gentle
Potentially a
welcome.
jump scare or two in the episode, but not.
Ooh, possibly. Considering what we're talking about tonight.
Yes.
So, other than that, this is a new season we are heading into. I will do a little opening in a second, just to let everybody know. But otherwise, hope everybody is okay, managing in this time of
Extreme stress and
yeah
discomfort.
turmoil and everything else that's going on in the world. Let's just shut everything else out.
Yeah, shut the door to the shack. Shut
Shut.
everything out. This is your escape.
Yes. Have you got a brew?
Have I hell? No, I haven't. I've got sweet
Well,
FA.
you know what you're going to have to do is send a message to the tea fairy.
I might be able to send a message to the tea fairy. Um, there is a possibility, but yeah, but the tea fairy might be busy at the moment. So
Fine. Well, I have my normal coffee in my normal cup.
you're,
to
it's not a normal cup. It's a cup that keeps it warm for ages.
Yeah,
It's a
thank
normal cup to you because you're useless at drinking your coffee.
yeah. And by the time I drink it, it is always cold unless I have it in the cup. So I have it in the cup.
Well, I had a cup of tea just before I came up to record, and I left the last bit of it to go cold because I was making cake. So
Very
yay,
nice.
yay for cake.
What sort of cake?
Just a vanilla sponge. That's all.
Nice.
But I wanted to put our nice jam in the middle with
Oh,
some buttercream and make it all
nice.
lovely. Because we fancied something nice, but we don't buy the junk.
Mm.
So we have to put the effort in if we want something nice. Do you know what I mean? Because you know when sometimes you can just eat yourself out of house and home because you're
Yep.
just looking for something and you'll grab anything that you can grab. I don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. So we go, well, actually, if we really did want something nice, we've got plenty of things to make it, but you have to put that bit more effort in so you don't.
You do.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's why it's more of a
Very
thing.
nice. I made ginger cake the other day.
Oh,
For
did you
exact
use treacle and
Yeah.
golden syrup?
Mm.
Oh God, you'd have no idea how much I miss golden syrup. We can get it, um, but it's not easy to find.
No, it's not. In actual fact, I had treacle, but I didn't have golden syrup.
Oh, gutted. It's not the same, is it? Not quite the
Mm,
same.
yeah, but I use maple syrup.
Oh, fair. A
And
fairly good substitute.
and actually that worked really well.
Yep, yep.
So yeah, we were all good. We were very happy with our ginger cake. We had a nice slice or two with a cup of coffee. And then in the evening time we had it with custard.
Oh, sounds good. I
Warmed
just need
up.
to ask our listeners now, what's your chosen cake?
Mm.
If you went to the bakery to have a look at all the cakes, what's the one you pick?
What's
Yeah.
yours?
Oh, do you know, I don't know because I'm spoiled with Rich's cakes and cookies and all I'm going to say is that savoury flapjack needs to be tied up to a bit of rope and thrashed against a wall. What is that about? What is that? Savoury flapjack? Are you taking the piss? The fact that you think it's going to be something that is just beautiful and treacly and all just nommy, and then you put it in your mouth and it's what? No, I tell you what, that is on a par when you think you're going to get a really nice golden chip, and it's actually a piece of parsnip.
Oh
And now
yeah.
I love roast parsnip. Do not get me wrong, absolutely love my roast parsnip. But when you're expecting something else, absolutely not. No. So yeah, that's the only thing. I will pretty much go for anything that is, cakey and sugary and sweet and nummy, but just not. Don't make it look like something sugary and then no.
And then it's not.
And no, savoury flapjack, absolutely not. You can keep that. Thank you very much.
Mine is lemon drizzle.
You are a lemon drizzle girl.
Yeah.
Do you remember elephant's feet?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was choux pastry with all the cream inside with chocolate
That's
on
it.
top.
Dip the bottom in chocolate. It looked like they'd stepped in mud.
Yeah, and it was huge. It's like as big as your hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice. But I'm not so much, although I love chocolate, I'm not really a chocolate pudding person.
Whereas I am.
I'll eat it. I like profiteroles, but I have to have vanilla inside the profiterole. I don't like the chocolate ganache inside the profiterole and chocolate on the out. It's too much for me. But I do like when it's like the fresh cream or chantilly or something like that inside.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but then just profiteroles are never going to be the same for me ever again if they're not filled with different flavoured cheesecakes. Because that's just what Rich does.
I know he does.
And it's just, no, I've been spoiled now.
Yeah.
Little choux pastry globules of nomminess filled with like white chocolate, milk chocolate, dark chocolate cheesecake. And you don't know which one you're going to get. I love it.
Excuse me. Globules of nomminess.
I think that's what the episode title should be.
I think it probably will have to be.
Globules of nomminess. It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they are.
Ghosts and globules of nomminess. Perfect.
That is now going to be the new name to Rich's profiteroles. It will be.
Absolutely. Right. Let us begin, because here we go. Now, I've tried to put anyone who's just listening to this, you do not need to worry. Nothing is getting in your way of listening to us. But if you're watching the video, then there is issues now that we're finding where we are trying to do certain things.
Can I just say, I do not have these issues. These are you issues.
These are me issues for the video only. If it wasn't video, I'd be fine because I could just read them from a book. Learn it from a book. But because we're doing video, to be looking down like this all the time, so I tried to have it up out of the way so that I'm half looking at the camera at least. So, yes, so it's up here. And I have tried to make it so that I'm not putting my arm in front of my face like I was last time.
Those of you just listening to us, this will make no difference to you whatsoever. So.
None whatsoever. You can just lay back in peace and not have to worry about all this. There you go. If you're watching us, just shut your eyes.
Oh, dear me.
Oh, God.
That's brilliant advice. That's brilliant advice.
Yeah.
If you're watching us, don't worry, just shut your eyes.
If it gets too much visually, shut your eyes. Oh, God. I want this little bit on a little snippet to put out now.
If you're watching the video, don't worry about it. Just shut your eyes. I mean, what kind of advice is that, Mother?
Can't see now.
No, I know. I'm crying now.
Oh, God.
That's just ridiculous.
Both of us taking our glasses off because I'm crying with laughter. Yeah, just shut your eyes for a minute while we sort ourselves out.
Dear me.
Oh, dear. Mind you, it has been a very long time since we had a really good giggle, I think. We've laughed, but I think it's been a while.
Yes. My eyes are stinging now.
Yeah, I know. Okay, yeah, we're flapping our faces now for those of you that have got your eyes shut.
Oh dear, this episode also comes out in Braille. My life, I can't,
Oh, dear
honestly.
me. Right, I'm supposed to be doing an opening now.
Do the bloody opening.
I'll
What's
do
the matter with
the
you?
Tonight, we're stepping into the oldest room in human imagination, a place where the living and the dead sit side by side. Ghost stories didn't begin as entertainment. They began as explanations, as warnings, as love letters, and as echoes. The first ghost story ever written was from ancient Mesopotamia, around 1500 to 2000 BCE. That's a flipping long time ago. Yeah. And it is recorded. It was written down. It was written on a clay tablet from the library of King. Now, I may get this wrong, but I've tried to do it so that I don't. The library of King Ashurbanipal. Now, a wonderful chap I've been watching and listening to on YouTube recently is a professor who is called Irving Finkel.
That's a brilliant name.
I tell you what, he is a brilliant person.
I know that name.
You must know him.
No, not for him. Definitely not him. It's a Finkel. Where do I know that from? Ace Ventura.
Ah, okay.
It was I'm pretty sure, Ray Finkel. That was it. There you go. Sorry, listeners, just interrupting there for a second.
Okay.
Carry on. I feel better now.
Okay. Well, this chap is a professor. And I watched a little bit of he was talking about his life story and when he started studying. I can't remember whether it was Oxford or Cambridge, but it was one of them. And when he got there, he was doing ancient languages, which is what he's into. And he was doing it with one professor. And there was about 5 or 6 of them or something in the class. And they had one lesson with him. And then I think the professor dropped dead. Yeah. And he didn't know what to do then because he was like, well, I've come to study languages. So what do I do? And somebody said to him, why don't you go and look at it's the study of cuneiform. And it's the ancient Mesopotamian language that they used to write with, using symbols and all sorts of things like that. And there was only one other professor in the place that actually taught this. And he was told to go and see this professor and see whether or not he could study under him. And Finkel explained that he goes to see this professor and he said, in actual fact, back in those days when we went to these colleges, professors didn't want students because they could get on with their research work. They were still being paid, but they just got on with research work. So this chap that he studied under said to him, he said, would you take me under your wing and can I learn this? And of course, it's a really unusual language to want to learn and study, and difficult, obviously. And the professor said, well, yeah, he said, but you can take this off and learn it tonight and come back tomorrow and let me know what you think. Anyway, he came back the next day and he said, I was totally hooked. I realized that when I started looking at this language and all the stuff around it, that I had found my niche. I had found my little thing in life. And apparently he came back and obviously his enthusiasm for what he'd learnt that night really showed up to the professor, who actually said, "Yeah, okay, I'll 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 take you under my wing." And
I
he
think that's the only
studied.
way in that sort of situation where you've got a professor who doesn't really want to be a teacher. The only way you're going to get through to them that it's worth teaching you is to get hold of something. It's to show some kind of passion, some kind of drive towards learning because you
Yeah,
already have a certain amount.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think this professor was obviously impressed with Finkel, because he took him on, and he was his only student. So it was one-to-one teaching for, I can't remember how many years, but it was something ridiculous, like 4, 5, 6 years. And he studied under him, and now he is one of the most knowledgeable men. He works in the British Museum now. Let me tell you a little bit about him. Irving. Irving Leonard Finkel was born in 1951. He's an English philologist, which means a love of language and the study of words. Here we go. And an assyriologist, which is the study of the cultures who used written words and symbols. He is the assistant keeper of ancient Mesopotamian script, languages, and cultures in the Department of the Middle East in the British Museum,
Hmm.
where he specializes in something called cuneiform, which is a logo syllabic writing system.
Sorry, every time I hear syllabic
I
or
know.
syllable, I hear
Syllable, yeah.
put the
But that's,
emphasis on the wrong syllable.
yeah. But I laughed when I read it as well. But I thought, well, obviously that's where
Yeah.
it comes from.
Yep.
So he was actually doing, there is a video, I'll see if I can put the link in the show notes, because he was actually doing a talk about this particular ghost story that was written, the very first one that is recorded on a clay tablet. They haven't got the whole tablet, they've got bits of it.
But
But
we do think that stories, in terms of ghost stories, must have been long before this just spoken, just
spoken,
told,
yeah, yeah,
and obviously there's the whole other level, otherworldliness when you include things like the stories that were told around the fire.
yeah. Well, I'm coming
And
to that. I'm
I'm
coming to
shutting
that
up.
bit in
I'm
a,
shutting up.
yeah. Yeah, I'm coming to that bit in a minute. But yeah, the other thing I found out the other day, which was really interesting, and that was that was something I was watching on YouTube, and they were talking about how stories have continued down the ages, and what they used to have in some of the bigger cities, especially on like the spice trails and things like that coming from China to more Western Europe. So on the roads there, and they would have story writers, and people would turn up into the city. And if they had a story that they'd heard, they would go to the story writers and they would tell them the story, and the story writers would write it down so that it was kept for prosperity, obviously. But a lot of, like you were saying, a lot of these stories come from just word of mouth, which is where pretty much we're going in a minute. On the actual tablet, the earliest known ghost story, it says a wandering spirit appears to a priest or magician. The ghost is distressed, confused, and is seeking help. It's not malicious, it's just lost. And even then, humans believed that the dead still needed us, and maybe we needed them too.
We like that. That actually reminds me of a thing that I saw written down talking about ghost stories, and it said to tell a ghost story means being willing to be haunted.
So we're definitely haunted here. We
Absolutely.
although Mort has been very quiet recently because
He has.
Rich is keeping him very busy.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Mort is helping researcher Rich.
yes. So at the minute, we are having a bit of freedom from Mort because he's being looked after and kept busy, and I think he's enjoying himself with Rich. So sometimes ghost stories came about for us to explain the unexplainable, strange noises, dreams of the dead, the feelings of being watched, and also things like how to cope with grief when we lose someone.
Sorry, I was just going to
It's all
say,
right.
another thing that I heard is that we need the ghost stories because we, in fact, are the ghosts.
See, you've got to watch the film The Others, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, who is haunting who?
Who is haunting who?
I think it was actually Stephen King that said that, of we need ghost stories because we, in fact, are the ghosts. I think it was a Stephen King thing.
Quite possibly.
Our listeners might have to confirm that with me. I've made a mistake there.
I was listening to something the other day, and they not the poltergeist again, no.
I wouldn't mind, but that was entirely out of reach. Last time it fell from up there. This time I put it down here. Yeah, I put it down here because I was like, oh, I can't even reach that.
Yeah, it fell down last time, and now it's fallen again.
And that's falling down again.
And you're telling me that this is not paranormal?
I can't even reach it. I don't.
Okay.
You carry on. I will keep listening.
So, talking more about the ghost stories and why and how they were written, the reasons why they were written. So we told ghost stories to enforce moral order, because the church sometimes told of demons and things like this, didn't they?
Because of course it did.
Yeah, because of course they did.
Sorry, we don't have anything bad, so we have to make it up and tell you it's all bad. Sorry.
Yeah.
Shutting up. Soapbox off it.
Oath breakers, murderers, cruel people who died, obviously came back as ghosts because they couldn't rest. These are quite good to explore liminal spaces, doorways, crossroads, twilight, sleep and death itself. So it's looking at those, like the veil as well is another one. We tell stories of this like passageway, the tunnel that people tend to.
Sorry, you know, on TikTok I did that video where I said, "Don't wait for the light to appear at the end of the tunnel. Yes. March down there and light the bloody thing yourself." Right?
Yes.
Somebody, I described it as a positive. It was a positive thing.
It was.
Right?
Yes.
All about, the tunnel being your life and it being dark at times, and you're waiting for that little spark of good thing, the little light that comes at the end of the tunnel. That's what it's supposed to be, right? Somebody put a comment on there asking me if the tunnel was death. And if so, lighting the light yourself was going towards the light, and therefore some reference of self not being around anymore.
Yes.
I was like, wow. That's not at all what I was going for. Because they were like, I'm not very sure that this is very positive. I was like, well, it depends on how you look at it. And clearly the way you're looking at it is bad. Nothing is either good or bad.
But thinking makes it so. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was just like, wow, the concept of march down there and light the bloody thing yourself. Yeah. Like, I thought that was a really positive thing, and I hadn't even considered that somebody was going to take the tunnel and the light to be death.
Yeah.
Not what I was going for, certainly not what I meant, but I was like, well, that puts another spin on it, doesn't it?
It really does. This type of thing, I think, when you put stuff out into the ether, into the, on social media, and you never actually know how people are going to read it, take it. Everybody is different. Everybody sees things in a different way. It fascinates me sometimes. It used to fascinate me when I was doing my therapy with people, when I was doing counselling, and people would say something and I'd be like, explain that to me. So how do you feel when that happens? What is it that happens? What are you relating this to? And we'd look at all the little tangents and the reasons why people would find the colour purple to be a triggering colour for them, or the word "the"
Yeah.
being a
I always found
triggering word.
that was one that always got me, was when they were like, "Oh yeah, we'll set you up with this nice blue calming color." Blue is not calming for me, or it wasn't at the time. It's fine
No,
now, but yeah, it was just that understanding of what somebody else means when they say a color or a description,
of something, yeah.
a
And you,
metaphor.
yeah, yeah,
It's not always necessarily your metaphor.
mm, yeah, or you see it totally differently, which fascinates me. I love to delve deeper into
Yeah, it was an
why.
eye opener because, as I say, I'd never considered the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know why. That just never struck me.
No, so ghost stories are the language that we invented for the things we couldn't name or we couldn't explain. And I think it's great that we made up stories about these things. Why are we addicted to ghost stories? It's a safer way to flirt with fear.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a controlled burn. You haven't got to worry too much that
yeah.
it gets out of control. And
But
unless, of course,
is
you.
that thing like dreams, where it gives your brain a chance to rehearse
Mm,
what it will do in this situation, you know?
yeah,
So yeah, I think it is that thing of your brain and your body having to practice feeling that,
yeah,
and because I mean,
yeah,
you can't tell me anybody hasn't watched one of these stupid bloody horror films where somebody gets into the house and the first thing the usually a girl does is run upstairs and hide in a wardrobe. Are you
yeah.
kidding? In the dark.
You're like,
And
put the
then
lights on,
and then
put the flipping lights on.
not even that, right? But then you sit there and shut up, right? Just shut up. None of this. Right, stop it. Just stop it. You're trying to hide. Shut up. It bugs me when they put this into movies, because it's like, no, that's not reality. That's not what would happen. You know, um, it's very aggravating.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it is. When you're screaming at the telly, why are you wandering around the house in the dark? Put the
Yeah.
flipping
Or
lights on.
somebody gets into the house and the first thing you grab is a baseball bat. Do you know how hard it is to swing a baseball bat in a corridor or in a doorway?
Yeah,
Like, walls get in the way, people. Pick something shorter.
but he did it in signs.
Yes, he was in a fairly large room, and I would argue that actually in the US, the footing of those houses are gargantuan.
They are.
You know,
And he
if you
was, like I say, he was in a large room and he was really good at swinging a baseball bat.
he did do it particularly well.
He did.
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll let him off. But find other things. Okay. So ghost stories are communal, like by the fireside, parlours, podcasts, in the shack, shared shivers.
We are just one big horror story, let's face
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. They're endless. They're adaptable. They're tragic, terrifying, romantic, symbolic. They touch the oldest question: what happens after we die?
We're not
And, and my light is about to fall off the shelf. Mort's here too. My light has just tipped like that. And he's now hanging by a thread. So if you hear this big crash, it'll be the light going. Because I'm scared to touch it now. Okay. The ancient Chinese hillside ghost story. the love that was forbidden. A young man fell deeply in love. His beloved returns his affection, but her mother does not. The mother convinces her husband to forbid the marriage, and the young man, heartbroken, retreats from the world. He climbs a lonely hillside and claims it as his refuge. And there in solitude, he lives out his days until he dies. The villagers whisper of a shadow pacing the ridge at dusk. At night, mournful cries drift down from the slope. They believe the young man's spirit lingers, still aching for the life that he was denied. One evening, a group of men climbed the haunted hill. Straight away, it puts you into it, doesn't it?
Well, of course, we might want to swing that light.
Well, yeah. I hadn't even got it on. What am I doing?
What are you doing?
How rubbish am I? Mind you, I'm scared this one's going to fall on my head. Right, there it goes. So swing the light. There we go. Oh, it's got all the keys. Witches' keys. I'm going to talk about those a bit later on. They climb the haunted hill. They carry dry bamboo shoots and they gather around a fire. As they retell the tragic story, the air grows cold. A shadow stretches across the ground and the cries begin, soft and then rising. The men throw the bamboo shoots into the fire. The heat makes them flash, pop and crack, exploding with sharp bursts. In ancient Chinese belief, these violent sounds frighten away spirits. The cries fade, the shadows dissolve, and the hillside falls silent. These bamboo explosions became part of a long tradition, the earliest ancestors of firecrackers and fireworks. That was so cool when I heard that.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a thing. You have to be very careful with bamboo, putting bamboo onto fire, because it has a lot of air pockets in it.
Yes, that's right.
That's the part where the gases
pops.
expand and then it bursts. So it does pop and crackle, and it can be quite dangerous. So
yeah,
just be aware. Small amounts of it will make all the popping and noises and things. So
warning, don't do this at home.
Yes, please don't try this at home.
Or even outside. You may get carried away.
Yeah, this is the thing. Yeah, making sure that you're doing it in an appropriate. Always have fire suppression available.
Yeah.
Safety first, people. Safety first.
So the meaning beneath the story is not just fear, but it's about grief, love denied. The men weren't only scaring away a ghost, they were acknowledging him. It's a reminder that even our celebrations carry echoes of ancient sorrows. So the celebrations with fireworks on New Year's Eve and everything else, and actually stem from scaring away spirits that might scare you a bit at night.
I did actually, I think it's David Foster quote, who said every love story is a ghost story.
Yeah.
Because it's so often linked.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of the thing, though, because it's not, in order for you to take it in, you have to feel something. It's kind of like when I start to read a book. If I can't find some kind of connection to a character, if I don't like or hate the person I'm reading about, I can't, if I watch a series on the TV, if I don't like any of them, I tried to watch Yellowstone. Yeah, it's full of just horrible people. It's just full of everyone being horrible to everyone else. It's weird, and I just stopped watching it in the end because it was like, well, I don't actually like any of these people. So this just doesn't hold me at all.
Yeah.
But if you have one good, nice, comfy character in there, like Dustin in Stranger Things, he's just oh, it's just so lovely.
No, but it's having not necessarily just a nice character, but an interesting character.
Yeah, but
Some
something you can relate to, something that
yeah,
holds your
yeah,
attention.
yeah.
And if a story doesn't have that for me, then
Mm,
it's just a bit naff, and it
yeah,
won't hold my attention. But this is the thing where, in order for us to feel for something, we have to feel for the people in the story. So I think
yeah.
love stories and connections like that, we've all got that little story in ourselves,
Mm,
of our own love stories that have gone
yeah.
wrong or awry. So yeah, I think we can connect to that a little
Mm.
bit easier.
But I think even just the loss of a parent or somebody that it doesn't have to be a partner,
No, no, not at
a
all.
brother, a sister, a friend, you
Yeah,
know,
losing a
that
connection. Yeah,
that loss um, is still love for that particular person.
absolutely.
And I think this is where a lot of our ghost stories of white ladies that are seen wandering, sort of the tops of castles or, great gardens and things like that in their big frocks. And often it's unrequited love or a lover that has gone to war and never comes back. And they are lost looking for them. I think there was one I was listening to the other day, and it was all about a woman who was looking for her child that that had either died or been taken away from her, and she couldn't rest until she found them. So yeah, okay. So looking at this, looking at how ghost stories through the years gradually began from Mesopotamia when they first started to be written down, the ghost stories in our communities that are told and passed on down the generations, the things that are associated with ghosts and ghost stories. So, looking at the fireworks and things. But then we jump forward to the Victorian age, obviously in the UK, that um, was around when the Queen Victoria was on the throne. And ghosts became very fashionable. And if anyone has seen or listened to, I'll try and put a link to the Tales from the Shack this week, which went out last week, to sort of introduce this new series that we're doing on ghost stories and things associated with ghost stories. And we were looking, in actual fact, at the way science came in. And whereas before the church had a lot of sway with what they interpreted ghosts to be, quite often demons and bad spirits that had to be, you know, exorcised out of the house or the home or the person itself. Somebody poor, there were poor people there that were mentally ill who were being told there was actually a demon inside of them.
Yeah, and then
Um,
actually tortured and horrible things done to them. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So, but once we got to the Victorian age, it became more scientific and science tended to take over a lot more. But also there were scientific things that were going on that were used to either prove or disprove that there were such things as spirit. And as in the story that I told last week, you will see that it was a new camera that actually took a photograph, and on the camera there was something to be seen once the photograph was developed. I won't say any more. I'll let you listen to the story yourself if you haven't listened to it. But so this is how science starts to come in, and the church's views tend to start to take a back seat. So the Victorian age, when ghosts became fashionable, we jump forward to the 19th century. Britain is transforming. Factories, railways, soot blackened cities. The Industrial Revolution brings speed, noise, and a new kind of loneliness. Science rises, and the church loses its absolute authority. People are told that ghosts cannot exist. that reason must replace superstition. And yet, during this time, seances flourish. Spirit photography becomes a huge craze. Ghost clubs form at universities. And Charles Dickens writes A Christmas Carol, turning ghosts into moral teachers.
It's an interesting thing, actually, because it's kind of that whole universal human experience, that, like, how can our energies, our spirits, just cease to exist? There's, like, it's that sort of dilemma represented by death. The question of what, if anything, comes after, what's next,
Yeah.
and we have no way of actually knowing. How can a person's consciousness just stop and go nowhere, do nothing? I watched a video of a dad going, my son has just said something to me and I'm terrified now, right? And his son, he's like 6 or 7, I think he was, about 6, and had said that he thought that humans were being farmed by trees because they give us everything that we need to survive and then eat us when we're buried. And the guy was looking at this tree going,
It's
now
very
I'm
true.
terrified. And actually, it's like, that's an interesting way of looking at it.
Throws out oxygen, lots of oxygen.
Yeah, it gives you the environment you need to survive.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then absorbs your energy afterwards.
It absorbs you when you're buried underneath it and uses it for fodder.
And it's like, it makes you look at trees a bit different now.
It does. Triffids.
Triffids, yeah.
But sly triffids.
Yeah, you're sitting there looking at me going, oh, I'm gonna...
that wait patiently.
Yeah. Yeah, if that's not a long game, I don't know what is.
Yeah. Okay. The more science insisted that ghosts weren't real, the more people sought them. Ghost stories became a rebellion against certainty, a way to reclaim mystery in a world becoming too mechanical. So our next little segment is actually science versus spirits. As scientific thinking spread, the supernatural was pushed to the margins. Ghosts were dismissed as optical illusions, sleep paralysis, grief hallucinations.
I was going to say, I think that's a longer word than you're giving it. Yeah. Hallucinations.
I think I read illusions and just kept going with that sound. So sleep paralysis and then grief. And then I'd still got illusions in my... So, yeah. Hallucinations is the word.
Dyslexia's a beach.
Yeah, it's not even that. It's anti-cancer, change my estrogen brain, I'm afraid.
A brain fog. Yeah.
It is
real.
total... It's more than menopause, I tell you that. I have it an awful lot where I completely forget a normal, ordinary word.
I have that happen sometimes, but it's not for the same reasons.
No.
For me, it's because I've got so much French in my head.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I forget sometimes the English words for things. It's just the way it is.
Yeah. It's like I was thinking the other day, there was a thing on the telly and they were looking at ballons. So water heaters, basically. Containers and heaters. Do you think I could think of the English word? I knew what ballon meant. Totally knew what that meant. Could not think of what the English word was for it. It's like fosse septique. I never call it.
A septic tank.
A septic tank.
No,
there you
it's
go.
A fosse. Yeah, it's a fosse.
Like it's a fosse.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And it's like when you get somebody in to do a devi.
Yeah.
You don't call it a quote anymore. They're not quoting you for something. I want a devi. Yeah.
I need a devi. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's bizarre how some words just become replacements.
Normal. Yeah. It's like La Poste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not the post office anymore. I go down La Poste.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird. Yeah, I had a French word that confused me so much the other day because it was something about, oh God, I can't remember. It was something about pain. It was like I read it as the bread clinic. And I was like, what? I was like, but it wasn't. It was the pain clinic. It was just I'd written it. I'd written it in English, and then gotten confused because I thought I'd written it in French.
Oh,
Because I'd
right,
written the word
yeah.
because I'm
And
dyslexic, I'd written
you'd written
clinic
the word,
in French, but
you'd
I'd
written
written
pain,
pain in English. So and
which
then I
is
was like, why have
pain.
I written about a bread clinic? What the hell is this? And I was like, I haven't. I've written about the bloody pain clinic. I'm just getting. So I'm writing in both languages. The other thing I did the other day is I wrote, as in time, AM, right? Now, AM, we think the morning, it's the AM, right? But I'd written it down as après-midi, which is afternoon. So now I don't know what time anything's happening anymore. So don't even ask me. I was like, wait, am I writing in French or English? Because I can't remember which abbreviation I've used. Yeah. Is it AM morning or après-midi afternoon?
Use the 24-hour clock. I
Yeah,
find
exactly. Yeah,
that's
that's
much
what I've been
easier.
doing now. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, right. Grief hallucinations. We'll get back to that word.
Sorry, my bad.
It's all right. Tricks of the mind, but science couldn't explain everything. And humans don't live on logic alone. Ghost stories survived because they speak to the emotional truths that science can't measure. Longing, regret, memory, and the ache of unfinished stories. There you go.
And they do. Ghost stories do help us process loss. That thought, that person still being around, that thought, the truth of that is we don't know.
Yeah.
We think and we
Well,
feel.
I think something that we ought to look at when we're going through this, and I don't know whether it's worth doing it in this series, whether it would fit in this series or not, I don't know. Because it's not necessarily a ghost story, but it is certainly something that's unexplained, and that is near-death experience.
Mm. Yep.
I listened to one in particular this week where this chap had actually died on a mountainside. And one second, he realised he was dying of hypothermia. And he said, and all the training and everything that he'd had went completely out the window. And logically now, when he thinks back, his body was flooding the outside of his body with blood to try and warm the body up. It had already tried to keep the core warm, but it was getting so cold on the extremities that it started to come out. And he said, and that's a typical sign of going into deep hypothermia, and it makes the body feel flushed
Yep.
and hot.
Yeah, when
He
you start
said,
to feel warm, it's bad.
yes.
Yeah.
And he said, I did the very worst thing that I could do. I undid my jacket. And he said, and as I was doing that, he said the blackness started coming in from the sides. I can't do it with this hand because I got my drink, but it started coming. He said the blackness started coming in until it disappeared. And he said, and then everything stopped. He said, I was falling backwards. I don't remember hitting the ground, but my consciousness was still there. And I was just looking into the blackness, and there was no more noise from the mountain. There was no more sound, nothing. He was somewhere else. And he said, and I didn't have my body anymore. Oh, blows my mind. Love it. Right. Anyway, we can look at those. I think we need to do some of those on some of our things. Right. Ghost stories endure because every life leaves a trace. They remind us that the boundary between the living and the dead is thinner than we pretend. And maybe the reason we keep telling them is because some part of us hopes that when we're gone, someone will still be listening. There you go. We've got some questions to throw out.
Go ferret.
Um,
Which has taken on a new thing for me since I
what's
started training as a veterinary nurse.
yeah.
Because for some reason, in the first phase of what I've been doing, they concentrate for a little while on ferrets. So every time I think of it, I'm like, oh, I know all this information now
Oh,
about ferrets.
yeah. Go ferret.
Okay.
It says here, what do you think our earliest ancestors were really trying to understand when they told stories about the dead?
I think we have looked a little bit at that in terms of dealing with grief,
Mm,
and trying to take fear away almost from
mm,
dying. That it's not such a scary thing because there's just another step. There's just the next thing going to happen.
mm.
And I think it's comforting to think
Yeah,
that, well, it's just the next big adventure.
yeah, yeah. I think as well, when you say about that about the earliest ancestors, we if you look back at tribes and how they would talk about their ancestors who they believed were there protecting them, or being like the wise ones who, if they were able to talk to them, would be able to be advised by them. And there always seemed to be that real connection
Yeah.
with you and your ancestors.
I think it's one of the bigger problems for me with religion is that it became a tool for controlling people in terms of you only get this if you do as you're told. That's the part that really, I tell you what, if I get on my soapbox,
Well,
I really, really have issues there.
s- you
But
s- you you
that
say
whole concept of using it as a weapon, as
mm,
a control
mm,
mechanism,
yeah.
and I think it's either China or Japan. I'm not sure which one. Um, but I was hearing about it that they've actually taken all of that out of. You cannot tell a child now. You can't threaten them with damnation or hell or anything, any kind of repercussions like that, because it is considered child abuse now in their country, which I'm all for. I'm
Yeah.
absolutely all for that.
Well, the interesting thing about the near death experience that I was listening to the other day was that the chap himself was a pastor or a person of the church. And I'm not saying that he was anything like this. I have no idea the type of pastor that he was or the type of church that he ran. That was, but the interesting thing was when he came back, as far as he was concerned, he'd lost his faith,
Ooh, that's
and
interesting.
it was really interesting because the person who was talking to him was like, "What? Why? How have you?" And he said, "If you look out your window and you see a bird flying onto the bird table," he said, "do you have to have faith that that bird exists?" And he went, "No, it's there." And he went, "Well, I've seen it, I've felt it, I know it's there. I don't need to have faith in it anymore."
Ooh, that's an interesting concept.
Ah, yeah.
That's an interesting concept. Um, and for me, that's a guy I'd want to have a cup of coffee with,
Mm,
because I got
mm,
questions,
yeah,
But that's really cool. That's an interesting take. I like that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It
Interesting.
blew my mind a little bit. I was like,
Mm.
wow,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. Why
And
would
he
you?
says he came back. The reason he decided and made the decision to come back, he didn't. I don't think he had to,
Oh,
but he
okay.
made the decision because he was worried that his parents would be upset that he had gone. And he said, but when I think about it now, logically, I'd gone home and I was just there waiting for when they came home too. So yes, we do get sad, we do get upset when we lose people, but actually that is all life's all about.
Mm. Yeah.
And so, he wishes now that he didn't come back. Although he has gone on to do lots of other things since he's been back.
Well, I think, what choice do you have in that respect? You've got to make the most of it, haven't you? You've got to make
Yeah,
the best of
once
what you've got.
yeah,
And you've got this sudden knowledge of what you experienced. And therefore, yeah, talk about it.
yeah, fascinating. Absolutely
Mm.
fascinates me. What do you think our earliest answer? Right, we've done that one. If you lived thousands of years ago, what unexplained moment in your life might you have turned into a ghost story?
Oh, well, I think obviously, it depends on how far back you go. But, I think the discovery of some elements of science would be
Mm,
considered magic
yeah.
in at certain times or in certain cultures, that would be
Mm.
considered, quite magical.
It's like,
So,
I mean, when you think about it, the being able to take a photograph of somebody's image. I mean, there were a lot of
mm,
people who honestly thought that if someone took your picture,
that it
then
took your spirit
it
away.
took your spirit away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a really interesting thing, and I think this is one of those moments where we have to look at what we do not understand.
Mm.
Because when we don't understand something, we will create what we think is logical, is rational,
Yeah.
given what we have already accepted as truth. Now, not necessarily what we know as truth, but what we have accepted. So, for instance, I look outside and I see a rainbow and I go, oh, it's raining over there. And, and there is light particles passing through raindrops, right? And there's a rainbow. And yet at some point we went, oh, look, God. And I still think to a certain degree, and I'm not saying this is everybody, but to a certain degree, we take things we don't understand and say, God did it.
Mm.
You know, I don't know how it happened, and therefore God. But I feel like there needs to be an exploratory process there where we look a little
But
bit deeper and
But then if you go back even further, you go back to like the Egyptians and
mm,
and other cultures where they had more than one god.
absolutely.
You
Yeah.
know, they had
Yeah.
a god for this and a god for that and a god for something,
Yeah.
the god of love, the god of war, the god of
But
the
literally,
sun.
literally worshipping the sun. Now that makes
Yeah.
more sense to me because you see the thing in the sky, right?
And it's warm and it
And
gives you
it's
light.
yeah. I can totally get on board with worshipping the sun or the moon or the
But
storm.
you can also understand that way in the fact that as the sun started to disappear in the winter time, that you would do things to
Try to
bring this
encourage it to come back.
encouraged to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the Yule log to have light in your house,
Yeah.
you lit the Yule log. And you had other sort of special ceremonies at certain times of the year
Mm,
to thank, when the
yeah.
sun comes back again.
But
And
again,
all of
it
a
was
sudden
that
it's
there was also that sort of ritual based around a good harvest in the
mm,
future, and
yeah,
all of these kinds of things that people did to try to make sure that the land did what they wanted.
yeah,
That they got the most out of a situation.
yeah,
So yeah, all of those are
yeah,
in some ways the stories that we tell and teach.
yeah. Do you think we ought to just learn some sort of sun dance or something at
I
the
think we
minute?
need something. I need
We
an arc at this rate.
well,
I need
yes,
that rainbow right now.
yeah,
All I'm saying is the
just,
first
just a,
rainbow, they clearly lied because it's been absolutely putting it down for I
yeah.
don't know how long.
It's heading. Well, it's basically rained every day since Christmas.
Yeah, every single day. Yeah,
So, and there is a place in Cornwall, I think, that have had rain for the last 40 something days. Is that like St Swithin when it's going to rain for 49 days,
yeah.
49
Well, we've had longer
nights?
than that now here
We
in
have.
Brittany, so
Yeah.
I feel like For 40 days and nights it rained. Well, that's nothing compared to what we've had, because we've had like 3 times that.
Yeah,
at the minute.
every morning we go down, and Dad's wheelbarrow, where he brings the logs around at night, the wheelbarrow is half full.
Yeah.
Every night.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
do you
how
know what's
much
going to happen?
water?
Is come July and August, they're going to tell us there's a shortage.
I know. I keep looking at all this water and going, is someone saving this? Is someone looking after this water?
I've got full water butts. Just
yeah.
saying. I've got a
Okay.
little bit stored.
So, one more question, I think. Have you ever felt the presence of someone that you've lost?
I'm not good at this. You know I'm really bad at this. I had a dream once about a person that I'd lost.
Yeah.
That's the closest I've come. In terms of actually feeling somebody's presence while I am awake, and no, because my brain doesn't do that. Seriously, if any of my deceased relatives want to come and give me some kind of message, they're going to have to turn up and smack me in the head with it, because otherwise, but I just don't feel the presence of my other half the time. I'm not good at that at all. I'm not as in tune.
You didn't.
As
you didn't get the genes. They didn't pass.
No, they didn't pass to
down
me.
to you.
No, I skipped me, I think.
Yeah, I obviously did, because I don't get it every day. It's not like I'm walking around with like
I see dead people.
or my granddad or something just behind me all the time. Not that I'd worry, even if it was. I've never had a feeling that somebody is there that shouldn't be, except for the shadow man, of course. But then
we've talked about that before.
That changed once I started really thinking about it more.
And again, once I understood
a
bit more.
Yeah, that's it. So things can scare us sometimes if we don't necessarily always understand.
Understanding is a big factor, I think.
It is a big factor. Just one more thing, and it's not about a ghost story. It's about a group of blokes who go around. I think it's called the yes theory. And they go to places that they're told not to go to.
Because of course they do.
Yeah. And they go and they find out what it's like, really. And they went to this place, and I'm really sorry, I can't remember where it was. I know it's in Pakistan, and I know it's not far from the border of Afghanistan.
Okay, fair. That's pretty good.
And there were some pretty awful things that happened. Lots of terrorism with people coming over the border, and lots of not nice things. And so there's lots of warnings about not going to this city. These blokes turned up. I think there's about 3 of them. One of them, I don't know if they're all from Sweden or whether just one of them is and the others are from different countries in Europe. I'm not sure. But one of them is from Sweden, and they just go to places to meet people, and they have the most amazing stories. They turned up at this place. It is not advisable. Anywhere you go, there are warnings. Do not go to this place. So they decided they would go.
Because of course you do.
Yeah. They got off the plane. They got out of the airport and they were surrounded by people. Beautiful, loving people who just wanted to know who were they, where were they from, and just wanted to ask them so many questions, and just was overjoyed to see people coming to their city.
Right.
And so many offers of like, come back to my house. I live about 3 hours away and I'll drive you there. And they decided to not do that at the time.
That's probably not the safest option.
No.
You know.
So Anyway, they left there. They went to the hotel. They booked in the hotel for one night. And what they wanted to do was actually not stay at the hotel. They wanted to meet people out in the street and eventually find somewhere where someone would offer them a room for the night and actually go back to someone's house. When they got to the hotel, they were going to go outside and go for a walk. And the bloke from the hotel said, "You can't do that on your own. You will have to have a police
Escort.
escort." And they were like, "Really? I'm sure we'll be fine." And they were like, no, you need a police escort. And they really didn't want this because they love to just meet people.
Mm-hmm.
And they felt that that wasn't going to help them. Anyway, they weren't allowed out of the hotel unless they had this. So they agreed to it in the end. And they did. They walked like behind them. So it wasn't, they weren't. And I tell you what, everywhere they went, they walked down the street. It took them, the place they were heading for, the bazaar that they were heading for, was 15 minutes from the hotel. It took them 3 hours to get there because everybody wanted to speak to them, and everybody wanted to offer them things from their shop, food, drinks. They just kept being offered more tea and food and just come into my place and see, and it's so lovely to see you, and shaking hands and smiles, and then they met somebody who actually watches them on YouTube. And they were like, "We didn't even know we
That's
had anybody who
fantastic.
watches." And he was like, "What are you doing here? Oh, I've watched you guys for ages." And they, anyway, they ended up meeting him again, and he was helping them with the language and that sort of thing. And they got clothes. They went, and one of them from Sweden, everybody thought he was Pakistani because he has a colour to his face and just the look of him. They thought he was, everyone kept trying to speak to him in the language that they use there. I can't remember what it was, but they had a totally different idea from what the main news and the world would have you believe. And they said, "We're not saying it isn't dangerous in certain parts, and there couldn't be something that would happen. But in actual fact, they were there for 2 days and they had to stay at the hotel. They weren't even to stay at the bloke who knew them from YouTube, who greeted them with the biggest hugs and everything. And they weren't even allowed to stay with him. Not even if the police vetted him, they wouldn't let them. So they chose
Safety first.
they chose to move on, but they ended up sitting having tea with these two lovely old gentlemen, who said that they would be like their Pakistani fathers. And they certainly took this young man who they said looked Pakistani, and he was like, "I am your new father." It was just to go back to what we're saying about understanding a little more, finding out a little bit more, going to the root of something and actually understanding it. And they said when they turned up, they were scared, but by the time they left, they were totally loved in this city.
I think this is the thing, because in some situations like that, when somewhere is considered to be unsafe, you have to make a decision based on what you know so far. And there's always going to be that time when you're told that something is unsafe and it actually isn't. It's fine. It's perfectly safe. Alternatively, there are times when you're going to be told how safe it is and how, everything's fine. And then it's not going to be the case when you get there. So, I think it's making sure that you're doing things as safely as possible so that you've always got an out.
Yeah. I think it would have been totally different, because the only people that they met on the street, and they actually said this, the only people that they met on the street were men. And they did go through the park, and they were told at one point that they couldn't go a certain way. They said, "You can't go that way." And they were like, "Why?" And he was like, no, that's the women's part of the park. And when they spoke to their the chap who was with them from YouTube, you know, the YouTube listener, he said it's not anything about us keeping our women at home. Our women are free to go wherever and, you know, and do whatever they want to do.
I'm still questioning the use of our women, but anyway.
Yeah, I think he was the generally our women, as in the women of the
country,
city,
of the region. Yeah.
Yeah. And basically what he was saying was that they have their own place that's private, that they know they're safe in. That if they want to eat, or if they want to drink, or if they want to just take some air and read, or then they're not going to be harassed but we never actually met any women to actually speak to them and find out. And this is what the chap was saying. And I think it would have been different had there been a girl in the group.
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Because I kept thinking, I wonder if this would have gone the same way.
If there was a woman that went with them. Yeah.
If there was a woman that had gone with them. Yeah.
Interesting.
So, yeah. Anyway, but they go and find out things that often we are scared of, and they go and debunk it sometimes. So
sometimes I'm just going to say rather them than me.
Yeah, well, yeah, but then you can watch them
yeah, absolutely. From the safety of your sofa. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been yakking for ages today.
We have been yakking.
Mind you, I think the first 15 minutes was just us yakking about whatever we were doing.
So we can do a little outro here, unless you've got anything you want to add.
No, I'm all done.
All done.
I didn't really show up with anything to say. So.
That's fine. That's fine. As we close tonight's wander through the oldest shadows of human storytelling, I want to leave you with a quiet thought. Ghost stories aren't really about ghosts. They're about us, the living, trying to understand what lingers, what echoes, or what refuses to be forgotten. Every culture, every century, every lonely hillside has its own way of asking the same question. What remains when everything else is gone? Maybe the spirits we fear are just the stories we haven't finished telling. Maybe the shadows that we sense are simply memories looking for a place to rest. And maybe the reason ghost stories endure is because some part of us hopes that our own footsteps, our own laughter, our own love will leave a trace too. So as you drift back into your night, carry this with you. What do you hope will echo after you? And whatever your answer is, may it be gentle. Ta-da! So until next time,
keep your minds open and your lamps lit. And we will see you again next time at the Freakin Shack.
Bye.
Thanks for hanging out in the shack with us. If you've got a strange story, theory, or even just a spooky question, send it to shackpackinbox@gmail.com, because we'd love to hear from you. Follow us to ensure that you never miss an episode of the Freakin Shack, because listening to us is much cheaper than therapy and slightly more spooky. Until we meet again next week, Shackpackers, take care.